Anytime there is something with this case, people are very connected to this for a lot of reasons, but we have sentencing taking place this Friday.
Yeah, we're just days away from what will be Lori Vallow Daybell's final sentencing. It's pretty crazy to think that 6 years ago at this time, she had just conspired with her brother to kill her husband, Charles Vallow, at the time, and she was trying to get the life insurance money, $1 million, as a beneficiary, but had found out the news that he had changed his beneficiary to his sister. And so that led to a series of tragic events, to murders of her children in Idaho, and then the shooting at her ex-nephew-in-law, Brandon Boudreaux. He survived. He's gotten justice recently. And so this sentencing will be for both murder conspiracy convictions, 25 to life. That could be the range. And then she goes back to Idaho within 30 days. Now, we already know she's serving life, but I think for the victims, for the family members, they want to see this conclude officially.
Justice is so important in all of these things. So is this is it?
This is it.
Could there be an appeal after this, or is it pretty much locked in?
Sure. She's already requested a new trial, but that hasn't been decided on. She's already said that the judge has treated her unfairly through this process, as she was pro se representing herself, and that was, interesting in itself. I think we got a lot of viewers just alone on seeing, watching how she represented herself as her own attorney, having no experience at all in defending herself, or really presenting no defense. She never testified, but how she did cross-examination with witnesses, specifically witnesses who are her own family members and former family members. I think that was the fascinating part. But this is it, and we'll see what happens on Friday morning.
Wow. The end of, just an era of your reporting here that we've seen. I know it won't stop, though.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will continue to be updates, especially as there's an appeals process and all of that. But you have gained so much knowledge covering this case. I think everyone in our building has come by at some point to pick your brain on something, try to learn more about it. You're absolutely the expert on this.
Yeah.
What happens for you after we stop talking about this, or it starts to kind of?
Do you get a good vacation? What's happening?
I have one planned in late August, and it's my wife's birthday.
You didn't sound excited when you said that. You're like, I got to go on vacation.
Yeah, I finally have to take a real vacation. And I think that's been the tough part. Like, the reality is with this case, there were times where I was on vacation. I was off when I started as a weekend reporter, and I was off Mondays and Tuesdays, and I was working because I couldn't stop. I couldn't ignore developments or sources or things like that. And I think that's what helped, set our coverage apart and advance it. And you just you end up feeling obligated to every update because there are people that are waiting for those updates.
Yeah.
Those are the things that make you an incredible reporter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And a deeply unhealthy person.
Yeah. And that's where the parenting has come in, where I've finally gotten some of that balance. But there are times where okay, I've got to, post this, or I've got to, check this court filing. But that is a good question. Back to that, what do I do after this? I mean, that's been the challenge. I've been juggling so many other reports during this time. So it's good to finally see the end of it. How many reporters get to cover a story all the way through that last several years? Some are changing markets within 2 years. So I've been very blessed to stick with it and have the support. So it's good to see it through.
I think it's also the fact that, and Steve and I know when we, as reporters, and when you find something, you also have taken the initiative, though, we have to mention. There's a lot of stories out there that could really use a follow-up, but, in the day-to-day of things, sometimes it's challenging. So you've kind of taken initiative also, to really kind of follow up. And on those days when you had off and you decided to work, you put in the extra effort. So you've really done an amazing job on this case.
Thank you. And our boss, Steve, has told me times, you got to chill. Take a break.
That's not me, by the way. That's the other Steve, boss man Steve.
Our news director has heard plenty of my story pitches and follow-ups on this, where it was just becoming crazier and crazier. But, he listened. Our team was very supportive, and here we are now. So, and I think number one, the victims, Charles Vallow, Brandon Boudreaux, they get their justice. Their family members are able to speak and give their victim impact statements. And then we will see, the big question is, what will Lori have to say? Will she give an allocution like she did in Idaho, where our minds were blown hearing the bombshell information that was really just false coming from her mouth, saying that no murders happened,
right,
and that her children were happy in heaven, and Tammy Daybell was happy, and nothing happened, and she totally denied everything.
So we have a question in the chat, Shelly Vidal. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly, but any questions out there, please throw them into the chat. She says she lives in Arizona now, but she's from Idaho. She asked, do you think that she also killed her brother? In some of the evidence, you've sat in on a lot of these court cases. What are your thoughts?
It is strange. Her brother died of natural causes, according to the medical examiner's report, but he died the day after Chad Daybell. Chad Daybell was Lori's husband and co-conspirator, after Chad Daybell's first wife, after her body was exhumed by authorities in Utah. So that is just, I mean, that is crazy to think that the day that authorities said, we've got to dig up her body and investigate her death because there was no autopsy done, the next day, Alex Cox, Lori's brother, just drops dead. But I can't speculate into like how Lori was involved. She wasn't at the scene. He died in Gilbert at his wife's home. He had just been married to for a couple of weeks, and that was set up and arranged, I guess, through the friendships between Lori and Chad. So you had this sort of small inner circle that led to these crazy events. I don't think we'll ever have the answer on that.
No, and I mean, counterpoint to all of that is the fact that this is an extremely emotional time, too. And when emotions are at level 10, our bodies sometimes shut down on us, too. So,
and this is a co-conspirator that is, prosecutors say he's the one who put hands on J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and conspired with Chad and Lori to kill his first wife. He's involved in all these murders, the shooting of Charles Vallow, the shooting attempt at Brandon Boudreaux, and out of everyone who's been, murdered for no reason, this one dies of natural causes, and he would have easily been charged if he was still alive in this case.
And a lot of times when we've chatted, it was the what stuck out to you about this case in terms of it's wildly interesting to so many different people because it includes family and religion and this crazy web of different things that have taken place. When you think about kind of looking on into the future now that we wrap up with sentencing taking place on Friday, is a book in the future? Have you thought?
Me?
Yeah. Drum roll, please.
I don't even know if I have the brain capacity to write a book. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Do I have the knowledge and the sources and stories? Yeah, I've thought about it, and I've talked to John Hook, our anchor here, about how his experience was, and he was telling me how he was raising his kids at the time they were younger, and he was working full time, and just, I don't know, maybe a podcast. That's what we're doing.
Hey, that's right.
Forget the book. I don't know.
Well,
but
because
thanks for asking.
I think a lot of people still have so many different questions, and sometimes I think they just want. You just want to learn more, and I think because it's hard for us to even understand how something like this could happen.
But also the relatability that what if that was your family member?
Yeah.
I mean, this was just like a stay-at-home mom living in Chandler and Gilbert and just like living the life and fairly like upper middle class and raising her kids, and everyone said she was the all-American mom, but she was deeply religious, and then that went down to a rabbit hole where how do you call your kids zombies and dark spirits, and how do you use religious scriptures to justify what you're about to do, which is basically murder them, have them put in the ground, and then not cooperate with authorities. And then there's the life insurance money involved in that, financial motivation. And many people ask, if you weren't happy in your marriage and you wanted to be with this man, this so-called prophet, why couldn't you get a divorce? These are really everyday conversations and things that are normal in our society, but turned into this extreme, terrible thing with the deaths of a handful of people. It's just, so I think that's the fascination. How did this happen? Like
an all-American family. Charles David, who's one of our chatters in the feed, thank you, Charles, for sharing your thoughts earlier. He said it's so crazy that this happened right next to us. So it must have happened, near in his neighborhood or nearby.
It started here in the East Valley, and now it's come full circle. She lived in Idaho for a short time. This is where she was for a good portion of her motherhood. So there's always an Arizona connection.
All right.
Fascinating.
I know.
I mean, it really
Wild
is. And
story.
we appreciated your coverage throughout all of it. It's been great to sit next to you and hear all about it. But
Yeah.
what I love is hearing what you just said. You can tell there's still some emotions
Mm-hmm.
there. I mean, you've talked about this every day for 6 years.
Yeah.
You still have emotions when you talk about those kids.
I do, and you remember when we were just starting to cover this. I think you had just gotten here. This
Yeah.
is but in the pandemic, maybe before we had to leave the station, but we had the pictures and the who's who on the wall and the documents and
Like
'cause
like the movies.
Yeah,
it's
we
literally
had-
like the movies.
So we had to organize our thoughts, and it was a way for us to really like focus in and say, okay, we're not going to leave this alone for a while. We're going to set up shop, and we're going to keep on digging. So it is cool to see like everyone who's been here since that time, and we can see it through Friday. Like we should take pride in it as a newsroom that we've been able to do this. Because it doesn't happen. So it's sort of generational. So I take pride in it.
All right, Betty. We'll have you on again this week, I'm
For
sure,
sure.
and then obviously cover what happens on Friday. But thank you for all your work and thanks for joining us.
On the Record streams tonight at 8 p.m.
Oh,
on
great.
YouTube.
All right, buddy. Thank you
right.
so much. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.